For years, America's F-22 reigned unchallenged in the skies, until late 2024 when leaked images from Chengdu stunned Western militaries. A tailless, diamond-shaped aircraft, China's Chengdu J-36, had materialized, fueling fears this sixth-generation stealth fighter could eclipse U.S. air dominance before the next decade even begins. Analysts are scrambling to decipher classified specifications. The J-36's radical delta wing, possible triple engines, unprecedented stealth geometry, and rumors of AI controls and drone command. If this jet performs as suspected, everything the Pentagon relies on in the Pacific could be obsolete almost overnight. So is the Chinese fighter jet that could outclass America's F-22 already here? And what else don't we know? From the very first images, the J-36 commands silence with its form. Forget the familiar silhouettes of Western fighters with their vertical tails and broken lines. Here, everything dissolves into a perfect diamond shape, a tailless delta that seems to absorb light as much as radar waves. The dimensions alone are impressive. Nearly 75 feet long, more than 60 feet in wingspan. But it's not the size that intrigues analysts. It's the complete absence of vertical surfaces. No tail, no protruding control surfaces. Every edge, every joint, every panel is aligned to deflect radar signals, creating a continuity so smooth that the surface blends with the sky. The blended wing body configuration merges wings and fuselage into a single mass, without breaks or blind spots. The leading edges, treated with absorbing materials, break radar reflection from all angles. Even the air intakes hidden under the belly and behind the cockpit are designed to mask the turbines and disperse heat. This attention to detail extends to surface treatments, absorbing paint, sawtooth serrations on the hatches, invisible joints. Imagine a fighter that, seen from the front, offers only a ghostly reflection, and from the side, disappears into the electromagnetic background. This radical geometry is not just an aesthetic feat. It imposes extreme constraints on stability and control, requiring flight systems assisted by artificial intelligence. But for now, what stands out is the radar silence. An aircraft designed to leave no trace, neither on screens nor in the air. A shadow that redefines the very notion of stealth. The propulsion of the J-36 both intrigues and fascinates. Since the first images, speculations have clashed. 2 engines? Or perhaps 3? To date, most credible analyses agree on a twin-engine arrangement. Likely 2 WS-15 engines of the latest generation, each capable of delivering more than 180 kilonewtons of thrust. However, some blurry photos and online discussions fuel the doubt of a third engine, possibly a variant of the WS-19, hidden within the airframe. This technical debate is not trivial. It determines the entire mission profile of the aircraft. An aerospace propulsion engineer, interviewed under anonymity, summarizes the issue like this: "The real feat is not in accumulating engines, but in achieving supercruise at Mach 1.8 or 2 without resorting to afterburners." The figures being discussed are staggering, a top speed exceeding Mach 2, a combat range surpassing 1,500 nautical miles, thanks to an estimated internal fuel capacity of more than 13 tons. This colossal volume, made possible by the wide airframe and blended wing-body configuration, would allow the J-36 to strike far, very far, without relying on vulnerable refueling. The logic is relentless. A fighter that can maintain supersonic flight over long distances while remaining stealthy redefines the notion of strategic penetration. The mass and fuel volume combined with precise thrust management offer unprecedented freedom of action for deep missions in the Pacific. The question of real efficiency remains. Consumption at Mach 2 depletes reserves in less than an hour, but for a breakthrough or a quick strike, this asset becomes decisive. It's not just a matter of speed, but of range. The ability to threaten any point in the theater without warning and return to base before the enemy even understands where the threat came from. To power an arsenal of sensors, wide-aperture AESA radars, and energy-hungry electronic warfare systems, much more is needed than a simple traditional fighter jet alternator. The engineers at Chengdu have equipped the J-36 with an unprecedented electrical generation capacity, more than 200 kilowatts estimated, distributed across multiple onboard generators. This energy reserve, unprecedented on an aircraft of this type, is not a luxury but a necessity. Each gallium nitride radar module, each jamming antenna, each artificial intelligence computer requires a stable and abundant power supply, or else stealth and informational superiority could collapse at the worst moment. However, producing so much electricity on board raises another challenge: heat. At full load, the electronic modules and detection systems radiate like miniature ovens. The wide fuselage and internal volume of the J-36 allow for the integration of massive heat exchangers and liquid cooling loops, capable of absorbing and dissipating these energy flows without compromising stealth. An aerospace production expert, speaking anonymously, summarizes, "Without this cooling capacity, integrating directed energy weapons or next-generation radars would be impossible. Any uncontrolled hotspot becomes a target for enemy sensors." In this race for onboard power, the J-36 is equipped for the battles of tomorrow: lasers, microwaves, and drone networks. But each kilowatt gained, each degree controlled, brings the aircraft closer to the threshold where technology shifts from possible to real. The technical foundation is set. The question now is how far it can be exploited in real combat conditions. The secret of AIR dominance no longer lies solely in stealth or speed, but in the ability to see before being seen. The J-36 is equipped with an arsenal of sensors that even the most seasoned analysts at the Pentagon find concerning. Its wide-aperture AESA radar, using gallium nitride modules, scans the sky across multiple bands, offering unprecedented range and resolution for an operational fighter. Where traditional radars struggle to distinguish a stealth target from background noise, this system detects, classifies, and tracks multiple threats simultaneously, even in a jamming-saturated environment. But that's not all. The J-36 combines this radar with a passive suite of infrared and electro-optical detectors distributed across the airframe. These IRST sensors, capable of identifying the slightest thermal signature from tens of kilometers away, track the heat of engines or air friction on surfaces, where radar stealth no longer protects. Thanks to optimized detection geometry, the J-36 can triangulate an adversary's position without ever emitting a detectable signal, remaining invisible while monitoring the airspace. According to a former American intelligence officer interviewed under anonymity, the J-36's ability to fuse all these data sources, cross-referencing active radar, IRST, and passive networks, gives its crew a battlefield view that even our F-22 and F-35 cannot match today. This informational superiority is the key. See first, shoot first, disappear first. The aircraft doesn't just avoid detection. It turns it against the adversary, pinpointing enemy emissions, mapping threats, and preparing engagement well before the enemy realizes its presence. In the skies over the Pacific, where every second counts, having this invisible early warning net transforms uncertainty into tactical advantage. The J-36 doesn't just hunt in the shadows. It makes the shadows its most formidable weapon. At the heart of the J-36 is its hidden arsenal. While Western fighters often sacrifice armament capacity for stealth, the J-36 reverses this logic. Everything is designed around a gigantic main bay, flanked by two side bays. The numbers speak for themselves. Nearly 20 square meters of opening, more than twice the surface area of an F-22, and a depth capable of housing missiles over 6 meters long. This volume is not just an engineering detail. It allows for carrying up to 8 PL-17 missiles, each capable of reaching a target over 400 kilometers away, or deep strike air-to-ground payloads. In Chinese doctrine, this range transforms the J-36 into a support killer. American tankers, AWACS, or patrol aircraft, meant to stay safe far from the front, suddenly become vulnerable. An aviation analyst from the PLA, quoted anonymously in a 2025 report, summarizes, "If you can hit the eyes and arms of the enemy at 250 miles, you cut off the head of the opposing air force before it even lifts a finger." But that's not all. The side bays house short-range missiles, ready for close defense, while the central bay can be reconfigured for anti-ship missiles or satellite-guided glide bombs. This modularity allows for switching between interception, strategic strike, and naval target neutralization without ever compromising stealth. The logic is relentless. A J-36 patrolling off the coast of Taiwan, armed with missiles with a 250-mile range, can threaten any American support aircraft without ever crossing the front line. This range, combined with the ability to carry a full salvo of munitions, forces Western strategists to rethink the entire aerial logistics chain. A single aircraft, invisible, capable of neutralizing the vital support of the U.S. Air Force. It's the promise of a sky where America no longer controls the tempo. And behind every mission, the shadow of an arsenal that radars never see coming. The J-36 doesn't just evade detection. It strikes where the enemy thought they were untouchable, imposing a new equation of fear in the Pacific. At the heart of the J-36 concept, dominance is no longer just about the platform, but about mastering the network. It is no longer an isolated fighter that prevails, but a flying architecture capable of orchestrating an entire swarm of machines. The side-by-side cockpit, an absolute rarity in fighter aviation, reveals the plane's purpose. One pilot, the other commands. Two brains, united in a glass bubble, manage navigation, electronic warfare, and especially the control of dozens of combat drones. The secret? A secure data link system designed to support massive data rates and resist enemy jamming. The mission is no longer limited to engaging a target, but to remotely piloting an entire swarm of loyal wingman drones, capable of attacking, jamming, and surveilling. Thanks to onboard artificial intelligence algorithms, each drone receives real-time instructions tailored to the tactical situation, all under the supervision of a human crew that retains the final decision. An AI defense sector analyst interviewed in 2025 summarizes, "The J-36 is not just a plane, it's a digital conductor. A few aircraft are enough to coordinate dozens of autonomous vectors, saturating the airspace with combined effects and rendering any classic defense obsolete." The cockpit, designed as a mission management station, integrates touch interfaces, augmented reality helmets, and computers capable of aggregating and sorting information flows from the sky, sea, and land. It is no longer a war of reaction, but of anticipation. The J-36 detects, classifies, assigns tasks, and launches coordinated attacks before the enemy even understands the magnitude of the threat. In this new era, superiority is no longer played out on the scale of a duel, but on that of a network where each plane, each drone, each sensor becomes a node in an invisible web. The J-36 sets a new tempo. A few units are enough to saturate the enemy defense, to open breaches, to make vulnerable what seemed impregnable. The sky of the Pacific no longer belongs to the one who flies the fastest, but to the one who commands the most minds, both human and artificial combined. Above the Taiwan Strait, the notion of air security shifts in just a few minutes. Pentagon analysts know this. Each new generation of aircraft reduces the reaction window, but with the J-36, this window is now measured in seconds. Imagine a salvo of these fighters, emerging at the edge of radar, invisible, each orchestrating a swarm of strike and jamming drones. Saturation simulations conducted in 2025 reveal a chilling scenario. Fewer than 10 J-36s, supported by 100 autonomous drones, are enough to overwhelm Taiwanese airspace. SAM batteries are saturated, defense radars blinded by jamming, and opposing fighters are targeted before they even take off. A strategic planner at the Pentagon, quoted anonymously, summarizes the situation. The attack no longer comes from one direction, but from everywhere at once. The chain of command no longer has time to decide, it simply reacts. This compression of decision time disrupts the entire defensive doctrine. American aircraft carriers, once guarantors of regional supremacy, become vulnerable. Their air groups, either grounded or dispersed to avoid the first wave, no longer have the luxury of preparation. A single J-36, armed with long-range missiles, can strike support aircraft at 250 miles, forcing the fleet to retreat or risk immediate attrition. The threat is no longer hypothetical. Integrated strike models, tested during Chinese exercises in 2025 of Southai 5, now incorporate the J-36 as the central node of a swarm attack. American strategists fear it. The balance of the Pacific could shift in less than an hour, without warning, without a reliable countermeasure. In this new theater, speed of execution and saturation become the ultimate weapons, and the sky above Taiwan no longer belongs to the one with the most aircraft, but to the one who controls the tempo of surprise. Time is now working against the West. While the J-36 conducts numerous test flights and the hangars at Chengdu stretch as far as the eye can see, the United States is bogged down in the complexities of the NGAD program. The promise of a successor to the F-22, heralded as the key to air dominance for decades to come, will not materialize before 2032 at the earliest. Meanwhile, the fleet of Raptors is aging. Out of the 187 units produced, fewer than 120 are considered fully operational, and each passing year complicates their maintenance in the face of China's rising power. In this technological void, uncertainty becomes a weapon. Western analysts, deprived of reliable data, construct their scenarios from satellite images, orchestrated leaks, and carefully maintained rumors. This fog of information forces military leaders to consider the worst: supercruise capabilities, drone networks, electronic warfare systems capable of jamming or mimicking Allied communications. But the reality remains elusive. A defense industry insider, interviewed in 2025, confides, "What worries us most is not what we know about the J-36, but everything we still don't know. Every shadowy area forces us to rewrite plans, double budgets, and doubt our assumed superiority." The speed of the Chinese program also fuels suspicions of industrial espionage. For 2 decades, American intelligence agencies have warned of discrete technology transfers, intrusions into research networks, and leaks of source codes. It's impossible to quantify the real impact, but the convergence of innovations, the similarity of stealth materials, and the sudden maturity of advanced engines cast doubt. In the shadow of each Chinese prototype, the question remains: how far has Western technology traveled without a visa? In this interval, vulnerability sets in. The United States, yesterday's champions, find themselves chasing a moving target. forced to adapt their doctrine and reevaluate every certainty. The Pacific does not wait, and the window of air superiority is visibly narrowing. On December 26, 2024, satellite images confirmed the existence of China's J-36, a tailless, sixth-generation stealth fighter with a diamond-shaped design and an estimated 1,500-mile combat radius. Analysts have verified its advanced sensor suite, internal weapons bay, capable of housing 250-mile range missiles, and a power system exceeding 200 kilowatts. Despite these facts, the true scope of its AI-assisted controls, drone command capabilities, and production numbers remains classified. What is certain? The J-36's public debut occurred while the U.S. next-generation air dominance fighter remains years from service, leaving a critical technology gap. U.S. defense documents show just 187 F-22s in service, contrasted by China's rapid strides. As intelligence agencies race to close knowledge gaps, the available evidence signals a fundamental shift. China has fielded a revolutionary aircraft years ahead of America's next-generation plans. For the first time since World War II, U.S. air superiority in the Pacific is no longer guaranteed.